Peace and love, family. Welcome to another edition of Moorish World TV. And I'm your host, Brother Tahaka Bay. Tonight, we have one. It's going down. It's going down, and I'm hoping you're going to stick around. Listen, you know that we've been on this journey discussing the theology. Let me open my mic up. First of all, the topic of today's show is what happened to the Nation of Islam. And we have a special guest tonight, Jamillah Amir Muhammad, to give us some insight. She's thoroughly seasoned in the concept of the Nation of Islam due to her being an active member for some time. If y'all don't remember her, she's been on the show quite a few times. Whenever we talk about this topic, sis brings some insight that many of us may have suspected, or even many of us didn't even know. But it always brings some clarification to what we suspect, what we thought we know, and it validates what we know. So, family, I need y'all to hit that thumbs up, hit that share button. I guess we're going to get them mad again tonight. But let me put a disclaimer out here. I know people want to be upset because we as a group of people pretty much have been an angry people because we haven't gotten our lick back yet. The European did us in such a way that we can't even have sensitive conversations together without trying to dismember one another. See, let me be clear. The Nation of Islam, in part of what they have done to brothers and sisters' lives in the community that I come from and communities like that around the country, you have to commend them. You have to commend them. I don't take nothing away from that. But that's a separate conversation when you start talking about the theology, the religious aspect of the Nation of Islam. That's a whole different ball game. You follow me? Somebody said, turn my mic up. Can you hear me? Check one, check two. Can y'all hear me? My mic levels seem like it's pretty high. Check one, two. Can y'all hear me? Let me check it out because y'all might be trying to sabotage me. Let me make sure. They had me hooping and hollering for no reason. But, so, when you look at the Nation of Islam, let me see. Y'all might be trying to sabotage me. Let me make sure. No, I'm good. All right. So, yeah, when you look at the Nation of Islam, the effect that they have on our community as it relates to those, the downtrodden, you have to respect that. Like, you just ain't human if you don't respect that. But this ain't that conversation. This is not that conversation. The conversation I've been having has nothing to do with how many people got off drugs. Has nothing to do with how many sisters stopped prostituting. Has nothing to do with how many brothers stayed out of jail. That is not this conversation. This conversation is the conversation of religion and the belief of certain aspects of a religion that may seem bizarre to some, may seem normal to others, may seem far-fetched to the skeptic. But these are conversations. This is no beef. This is no attack on the Nation of Islam. Why is it whenever we have a conversation with what one believes in and one disagrees in, the first thing we say is an attack? I ain't called nobody no name. I've been called many names. I didn't say anything slanderous. I used the words that came out Elijah Muhammad's mouth. We need to mature as a people so we can get to where we need to go. These conversations will be had, whether it's me or somebody else. Listen, I'm going to have these conversations about the Moorish Science Temple of America, because you can see all of the attacks coming from the emotional brothers in the Nation of Islam on Facebook right now, alleged against Noble Drew Ali. I don't mind. Somebody just posted something. A newspaper article said Noble Drew Ali is a rapist. Okay. Do you want to go live and have a conversation? I'm not going to sit back and try to cuss you out over a newspaper article. What I care about a newspaper article for? The same way that I researched the NOI, do you think I didn't research the Moorish Science Temple of America? I researched the Moorish Science Temple of America. I researched those allegations. So at the end of the day, everything that you may say about Prophet Noble Drew Ali and the Moorish Science Temple of America, 9 times out of 10, I have an answer for, and you don't have to like that answer, but my answer is going to be the same answer that I give to everything else. I'm going to say it and I'm going to show a receipt. That's the difference between me and these emotional, grown little boys with mustaches. They little boys with mustaches. They can't even control their emotions when you start talking about their little religion. You start talking about their little saviors. You know what I mean? They can't control their emotions. They little boys with mustaches. Or let me change that, because my brothers in the nation, they shaved their ass off. So they little boys with no mustaches. Stop, Allah. But let me say, family, we're going to have these conversations. These conversations are going to be good. So tonight, what happened to the Nation of Islam? Family, do you remember? Where are you from? Give me a 7 in the chat. Do you remember the Nation of Islam as a young man or young woman? Do you remember? Do you remember when you seen FOI that you tightened up and you ain't even know what they was about? If you was from where I'm from, Annapolis, Baltimore, DC, and you seen FOI, you tightened up just a little bit. Those the Nation of Islam. That's the NOI brothers. You tightened up a little bit. You ain't know what they believe. You just knew that they was sharp, they was clean, and their energy commanded your respect. So tonight we're talking about what happened to the Nation of Islam. They still sharp, they still clean, they still command respect. But when you look at things like the doctrine and you see these grown men get emotional, that makes me say, what happened to the Nation of Islam? When you see grown men on the internet getting emotional, like I'm talking about the mother plane, and somebody tell me that keyboard that you typing in don't hit back. I'm not hitting the keyboard. I'm just typing in. Like you want to fight me. Listen, I don't want to fight you. I want you to answer the hard questions. Fight the question. All I want you to do is answer the hard questions so we can learn. Either we're going to learn or we're going to drop it and keep it pushing. That's it. That's all you got to do. So again, family, welcome to another edition of Moorish World TV. I'm your host, Brother Tahaka Bay, family. And tonight, family, what happened to the Nation of Islam? And now it's time. I'm going to bring my guests. Let me read this real quick. I seen a guy selling a bean pie in a newspaper still in New York. Asked him, what's the point of selling? Selling that. He told me, brother, just come down to the temple. Just come on down to the temple. That must be the little guy people. That must be the little guy people, Eric Muhammad people. Just come down to the temple. Hey, boss, the plane. Come down to the mother plane. that was Eric Muhammad. Hey, hold on. That had to be Eric Muhammad. That was Eric Muhammad. Let me find my little Eric clip. That was Eric Muhammad. I'm trying to tell you. That was Eric. Hey, boss, come on down to the temple. The plane. Eric Muhammad. Get your final call. No, he don't sell the final call. He got his own little thing going on, whatever it is. Eric Speaks. We just gonna name it Eric Speaks. Hey, boss, come on down. Eric Speaks. It's like, let me stop. Oh, man, Tattoo X. Look at Tattoo X. Tattoo 2 feet X. I'm just being silly. Hey, man, I got. Hey, boss. My. Anyway, let me stop. You know, Eric get mad at me. He said Lil E is legendary. That Lil E. Hey, boss, this dumb Moor, this stupid Moor boss keep making videos about me. This stupid Moor, they are the stupidest people I've ever seen. A dumb N-word. That's all Eric do. Eric, he a good cusser, boy. I bet you he used to drink before he got saved by the Savior. I bet you did. Cause he's a heck of a cusser. Oh my goodness. Dr. Assam. Anyway, family, let's bring it on in, family. We got to bring my sister in, and we're going to get busy. This is going to be a heavy conversation tonight. And you know, the funny thing about this is Dr. Assam, you on screen, sis. Dr. Assam mentioned on his show tonight. Please go subscribe to Dr. Dennis Assam Winkler channel. He said on his show tonight that it's so hard to get sisters on his panel, and he put a request to sisters to hit him up because he wants sisters' opinion. And so if you are interested in dialoguing with a real doctor, not an internet doctor, a real doctor, Dr. Assam, he works in the head field. That's why he my friend. Because he my friend, so he makes sure I don't go off the deep end. You know what I mean? Dr. Assam, he a head type doctor. Pause. I forgot I gotta say pause. He a brain type doctor. You know what I'm talking about, one of them type people. But he my friend, so I don't go off the deep end. But on a serious note, though, if you are sisters and you watch Moorish World TV, family, go subscribe and request to put your wisdom and knowledge and understanding on the table under a different umbrella, you know what I'm saying? Like, we be all in these boxes, sis. You know these boxes we be into? We be in these boxes, and like me, I'm one of the first Moorish Americans that really stepped out the box genuinely. I'm not saying just to take pictures. I'm talking about, I talk to Doc, Pan-African Doc, very frequently. You know what I'm saying? I got brothers in the NOI that's bona fide NOI, FOI, that I talk to frequently. Treat me like family, treat my family like family. And they don't pay me no mind when I go on these little excursions, if you will. But I came up in a group of Moors that said, man, why are you hanging with black people? I said, whoa, these people crazy. I had to figure it out that these Moors was crazy, you know? And so we need to get outside our comfort zone. We need to get outside of our box, and we need to intermingle with every facet of our community. In fact, Dr. Assam, I debated his father. So So Dr. Saw is born into consciousness. I debated his father years ago. And boy, his father don't play. And so the point that I'm making is we got to be comfortable thinking outside the box, getting to know our brothers and sisters of different persuasion. And even if we disagree, it don't matter. We got the same boot on our neck, and that's just what it is. But I'm not going to protect your lies, though. But anyway, sis, let me get to you real quick. Sis, Jamillah Amir Muhammad. Sis, can you tell us a little bit about yourself? When did you reintroduce yourself, pretty much? When did you become a registered member of the Nation of Islam, or did you hang around the nation before you became a registered member? How did that work?
So my parents were in the nation prior to 75. And we had a lot of influence when I was growing up. We only knew certain things. We didn't like go to the mosque or anything like that. But we did, know about the brothers. My father would have the brothers come over the house, drop off the bean pies. We would sit on the floor and eat bean pies all day. We had the newspaper. My mother would play Elijah Muhammad all the time in the house. As a matter of fact, we didn't even know about Farrakhan until like much later. We grew up hearing Elijah Muhammad. And so I always wanted to know about Elijah Muhammad. Like, who is this guy? My mother, she would just give us like a little bit of information. So yeah, we basically grew up, and then I grew up in the 90s. And so it was that era of the so-called consciousness. And I would say the rest is history. And that brought me into the nation. And about, I think 96, I got registered. I moved to Philadelphia in 95. Got registered in 96, and I was active non-consecutively for like 16 years. Yeah, so you have to ask me questions if you want to know the intricacies of it, though.
So basically you joined the nation, but prior to joining the nation, you kind of like people in my generation, they listened to Farrakhan, and many never really joined, but they listened to him a lot. So you listen to the radio broadcast or tapes of Elijah Muhammad, and then from that you joined with Minister Farrakhan.
Right, because like once I got to Philadelphia, I think I went to one of his lectures, and I was pretty excited about it because, number one, I'm from Boston and Farrakhan's from Boston. And so I felt like we had that in common. And then also my best friend was his cousin. And so I felt like we also had that in common. And I was always excited to see the sisters in their white garments. And I wanted to go. And so I did. He did, I think it was a July 4th lecture in Philadelphia on either like the Declaration of Independence or something like that. And once I did go, I was really excited. And then I was working, and I met this brother, and he invited me out to the sisters class. And then that's when I just started going. Like in 24 hours, I was going out to the sisters class, and I wanted to be a part of the nation.
Oh, okay. And so when you join, what happens when you join? What's the first process? Maybe you could walk us through, to give us a quick version, just to give us a visual, the process.
Okay, so it might be different now, but when I
Right.
came in 96, at least on the sister side, you would come in for your meeting. So I came to MGT class that day, basically told the sisters that I want to be a part of the nation. Sister talked to me, took me to the back, told me how it kind of goes, like what I have to do. Um, if I'm willing to do that. Of course, at the time I was in a relationship. And so we went through that whole thing about, is there marriage coming or whatever the case may be. So I had a lot of hard decisions to make at that time. And then once I did that, then I had to study my actual facts, my student enrollment, learn the prayer, because that is kind of like what you would call like an initiation. So you have to like study the actual facts, student enrollment, the Muslim prayers. And then as you're studying, then, at the end of class, as you come every Saturday, if you're ready to recite, then you recite. But the first part was writing your letter, of course. I can't remember, the order it went in, because I think I was kind of doing a lot at one time. But at some point I had to write the letter. It was a letter where you had to copy a letter, and it had to be right and exact, like it had to be the right handwriting. And so you would submit it, they would look at it. If it was correct, they take it to Chicago, and then you get an X or something like that. I can't remember, but anyways, it was a whole initiation thing, and I passed it on the first time around. So yeah.
So how long were you in the nation before you did you ever okay, let me say this. Do you still subscribe to the teachings of the Nation of Islam? Let me ask you that.
Um, yes and no. It's a layered question, only because it's part of my fabric, the teachings in itself. But as far as like the way that the rituals are done and things of that nature, I'm gonna say no.
Ritual, sis. We ain't never heard of no ritual, sis. Nah, for real, we ain't.
Okay, so I'm saying ritual because of the culture. Okay.
Okay, I
And
see.
so as far as going out to the mosque, putting on your garments, going to the meeting, I don't do any of that anymore.
Okay, I got you. I got you. I got you.
So those are rituals. That's what that's what they do all the time. That's a ritual.
I guess you're right. I guess you're right. So, but do you still believe in the doctrine as some of the things that I talked about on the show? I know you've been watching the show. Do you still have
Mhm.
a belief in the doctrine? Do you believe it the way that I've been discussing it? Do you have a different understanding? How do you feel about the doctrine? Because the topic of the show is what happened to the Nation of Islam, and we're going to build up to
For sure.
what appears to be different now as opposed to what you can remember and definitely what I can remember. So
Right.
do you still have the same uh, uh, um, concepts of the doctrine that you had when you joined?
So originally when I joined, I was always an avid reader, right? And so I started reading the theology of time first, because it was my understanding that Farrakhan was rebuilding the nation. And whichever time you come in, for me, I picked off where Elijah Muhammad left off. His last book was Theology of Time. So that's where I started. I didn't start with Message to the Black Man. I
Okay.
didn't start with Our Savior Has Arrived. I went like backwards a little bit,
Okay.
right? And so I had more of a broader concept of astronomy, because in Theology of Time, he talked more about astronomy. So if you compare Theology of Time to Message to the Black Man, you'll see the same teachings, but he focused a little bit more on like the origin, a little bit more. Still the same, still a similar doctrine, but he kind of went a little deeper. And so my understanding kind of started like with the cosmos, with the stars.
Okay.
And so I didn't look at like the mother plane as like a contraption, an apparatus, like flying. I didn't look at it like that, because in Theology of Time, he was more focused on astronomy, the
Okay.
stars, the cosmos. And so I looked at it in a pretty different way. I mean, I didn't like argue or try to convince anyone, what I thought, but I didn't understand it that way.
Right.
The Yakub story, I looked at it as genetic splicing. I looked at
Right.
it completely different. So I didn't like visualize like a black man with a big head named Yakub, and he's doing all this. I didn't look at it like that. I
Right.
looked at it as the way that Elijah Muhammad is telling us that this is happening. This cloning, genetic splicing, all this is going to be happening in the world, and you need to pay attention. And so when they did the sheep thing, I'm like, oh, wow, he was talking about that. So that's how I looked at it. I
Okay.
didn't look at anything in the teachings literal at all.
Oh, and you know, I was speaking to a brother, and I even mentioned that to you, that do you think that the teachings should evolve? Let me tell you this: in the Moorish Science Temple of America, I've heard people that say you need to upgrade the teachings of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. But my argument has always
Mhm.
been we haven't even used what he gave us yet. You know what I'm saying?
That part.
But and then even the philosophy of Prophet Noble Drew Ali's teaching is very basic and very simple. Like it's like we said, a child can understand. It's really basic and simple. You know what I'm saying? You can
Mhm.
bring out the greatest value by doing the most simplest things and understanding the simplicity of a thing as opposed to complicating it. But in the Nation of Islam, do you have any concept that the teachings are solid like they are, or would one come along and unfold them to a next level?
Yeah, for sure. Like they're not solid, and Elijah Muhammad didn't necessarily say they were either, because in the lessons he say nearly correct, right? And so it's not about changing the teachings, but it's about going like deeper into the teaching. He actually talks about that in Theology of Time, because I think like at some point in Theology of Time, a brother had asked him a question about the teachings and why isn't it the same or something like that. And he said something like, you don't change them, you just, go deeper into them. And so that's where I actually started. I didn't start like on the mundane level. I started digging deeper because of who I am. I'm a researcher. I read a lot of books, and I have some knowledge of symbology and synchronicity and those literate things. And so whenever I read something, I don't look at it at the surface. I always go deeper. So I started with the esoteric from the very beginning. I never really stayed on the exoteric too long. I always looked deeper into the teachings, and I was looking for the lesson for my life, because in my mind, the teachings was supposed to change your life, right? And so I went in with that motivation. I didn't go in with a ritualistic mindset of we do this, that, and the other. I went in like I really want to apply these teachings and I want to use them to change my life.
Right, right. All right. So so when you said that, you was in the mosque, and then, but you've been non-consecutively. And that's the first time I heard it put in that way. What do you mean by non-consecutively?
So non-consecutive means like I came in 96, I went all the way up into a certain point, something happened, then I left, something happened, then I came back. That's what I mean.
Okay.
Because that's how it is when you're in what I call an initiation period. You make a lot of mistakes, you fall on your face, all kind of stuff happens. And so you usually come back to what you know. And
Right.
the teachings is what I knew at the time. You know what I mean? And so when I fell, I came back to get right, you know, and it just kind of happens like that. But at the end of the day, it's all about, you always hear people say, we striving to be righteous and all that. And I'm looking at it like, no, it ain't no striving. You either gonna be it or you not, And so that was the kind of whirlwind, I'm gonna say. Either I'm gonna do it or I'm not.
When did you decide, like, hold up, I'm not doing this? When did that happen? Because you say
Woo!
you don't participate in the ritual part, and that's going to the mosque and uh,
Right.
dressing the dress and all of that. When did you decide, like, I'm not doing that?
There was so many times I said that, okay? Because circumstances called for it. Like, I'm not doing this. I'm volunteering my time. I don't owe nobody anything.
Right.
Several times I said that. Okay. The last time must have been, I guess it was like in 2013. I might be getting my dates wrong. Um, it's always a circumstance that makes you think twice. Circumstances will always make you second guess what you put yourself into. Because remember, I said I left, I came back. I left, I came back, right? you think when you come back to a situation, things is going to get better. And then you come back and then it's like, oh my goodness, why did I even waste my time? So I've had that thought several times, but because it was part of my life at the time, and I, had friendships, sisters and that whole thing. It was good for my children at the time. I stuck around and I dealt with, adversity. I stayed in trouble in the nation. If you want to know why, I'll tell you.
Pour it on. Let me turn this fan off so I can hear you clearer. Keep talking.
Okay, so I'm a very outspoken person, and I've always been a person that did not what we would use in the nation like submit. Okay, and people think the word submit is like a bad word, but it's not a bad word. It's just the context in which it's being used. And so in the nation, being a female, it's kind of like a Potemkin's village. And a Potemkin's village it looks really beautiful and shiny on the outside, but then when you go deeper, you start seeing the mess, right? Um, so the first situation I had always has to do with some domestic situations, right? And there's no infrastructure to keep family together. It's not like a standard infrastructure because the way the mosques work, everybody kind of handle things differently. It's not like one way, right? So it basically depends on the circumstance. And so anytime there is anything that has to do with, husband and wife or, court mates or whatever, it always seemed like we don't want to touch it. That's y'all business, But family is the fabric of building a nation. Okay. If you don't have families that are getting along and doing right, you're not gonna have a nation. That's just straight up. Okay. As we've seen from history, anything domestic breaks the fabric, right? We can talk about that all night. And so I think the problem that I notice is there is no infrastructure to hold the family together because I
Mm.
don't think the individuals are qualified to do that.
But
There is no. Go ahead.
when you think about a religious doctrine, which going to segue me to my next question, when you think about a
Mhm.
religious doctrine, there should be a set of code and ethics that hold people together that is connected to a spiritual essence. I can say in the
Yes.
Moorish Science Temple of America, we have that. We have that in the most clearest form. I can actually quote a verse out the whole chapter. It says, "Take unto thyself a wife and obey the ordinance of Allah. Take unto thyself a wife and become a faithful member of society. But first, examine with care. If much of her time is destroyed in dress and adornment, if her eyes rose on the face of men with boldness, if she speaketh loud, her foot findeth not in her father's house, turn thy feet from her path, and suffer not thy soul to be saved by the allurements of imagination." Now that is the man, the woman. But then we have another chapter from woman to man. When nature's whisper in the ear, the meaning of their words, hear with cautions. You are man reasonable companion and not a slave to his you are made man's reasonable companion, not a slave to his loose passion. To his
Desires, yeah, for
loose
sure.
desire. That is loose desire.
Mhm.
So we have all of this, and we read it every week. You know what I'm saying? So we have these code of ethics. We have these principles that builds us into a well polished human being if we apply them. So what you're
For
saying
sure.
is that even the family structure. You know what I'm saying? It's spoken by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. It's not interpreted and translated by a member. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yes.
it's spoken by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. So you're saying that in the doctrine there is no standard of codes from the founder or from the from Elijah Muhammad? I know I got a video from Elijah Muhammad, and it seems like women could be interpreted. I could be wrong. Could be interpreted second class. But I want to go ahead. This is your interview.
Right. Okay. So I'm not going to say there's nothing. Okay. So I'll tell you what they have, and I'm sure they still have it. I don't think that it changed. Okay. So what they have, we have one, the Constitution, right? The Constitution is this little white and red book. I used to walk around with the Constitution because I always had to point out stuff if there was some injustice that happened. Okay. Now the Constitution basically talks about the rankings in the mosque. So you got your secretary, your ministers, you got your FOI, you got your MGT, you got your sister captain, brother captain, and you got your lieutenant, right? So in the Constitution, it talks about the rankings and basically like job positions, basically, right? And then you have a little small it must be 3 or 4 sentences that talks about women's rights. Real small, all the way to the back. You almost miss it if you're not looking for it. Okay. Right. And basically what those sentences are saying that, the woman has the right to rise to, her God-given talents or something like that. That's it. Okay. So that's number 1, talking about women. Okay. Number 2, we have the restrictive law. Now, over the years, the restrictive laws have reduced, condensed, changed a little bit. But when I came in, there was about 35 restrictive laws. Okay. And the restrictive laws can go for anybody, male or female. It's not specific to male or female. It's just the behavior of a Muslim guideline. So it's kind of like your 10 commandments, right? So don't do this, don't do that, don't do this, don't do that, don't do this. Okay. So that's number 2. But that's for male and female.
But is that from Elijah Muhammad?
It was in restrictive laws. I believe it was from.
Okay.
Yeah. I believe so. Yeah. Okay. And then but I think Farrakhan rewrote something, but that's another conversation. Okay. Number 3, where it's at. Okay. We have the Book of Femininity. Now, I'm not really sure who wrote this book. I think it came from Elijah Muhammad, but no one kind of knows, because when I first came in, there was an orientation book for the MGT, for the sisters class, MGT, Muslim Girls in Training and General Civilization class. And it was interesting because this book, this orientation book, it didn't have like an author. It was just like a bunch of like papers put together, and you got it like, this is your orientation guide. Later on, when I started meeting different sisters, this one sister, she pulled out this book called the Book of Femininity. And I said, oh, what's this? And she said, this is the Book of Femininity, because she came in the early 90s, and that's what they were given. And the author was Elijah Muhammad. But we know Elijah Muhammad didn't write none of his books, right? That's another story. He didn't write none of his books.
Hold up. Hold up. I need a pen, because we need to get back to that. But carry on.
Okay. So this Book of Femininity is specific to the women in the how we supposed to act.
I am not a scholar.
How we supposed to dress. Like, that's basically what it is. We have 7 units, so real domestic. Cook, clean, and all that kind of stuff.
That's what that's one of the conversations I want to get in. I told you I want to do a show on that. It seemed like, from the outside looking in, and like I say, from the outside looking in, it seemed like the women were being trained, and I don't want, for the lack of a better term, to serve the man. That's what it appeared.
For sure.
Learn to cook, clean, and all of that to serve her husband.
For sure.
Which I think that's a good thing, that women need to cook, clean, and everything, but the man need to cook, clean too. I wash just as much dishes.
Well, I don't know what they learn in FOI class, but
they learn to wash dishes.
They're not getting that.
They ain't learning. So no, for real though. I when I think about it, because so me being a Grand Sheik, I actually push the concept of it's equal shared responsibilities in a relationship. It's equally shared.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I change just as much doo-doo with the baby and wash just as much dishes, sweep mop floors, everything. It don't make a difference. You know what I mean? And that's what I come to see. And even in the Moorish Science Temple of America, I have to fight that colonized mind where I think demand. You know what I'm saying? When it's us. You know what I mean? Because that colonized mind can creep in at any given moment and make me feel like, no, I'm the head of the house. It's me. You know what I mean? I had to check myself. You feel what I'm saying? Because that comes from systematic abuse from this slaveholder to make us think that this man supersedes the power of a woman. You know what I'm saying? When we are in the same bracket as it relates to human beings and serving one another. You know what I mean? Everything is reciprocal. It is what it is. But when I read the MGT book, it seems like that they're just literally preparing a woman to be domestic at home. And of course, you know, in this day and time, there's no way in the world that you can have a woman like that. But that's what it seems to be. Did you ever feel like that?
Well, no. I mean, because again, I was.
Let me find out you was the type like, you better go cook your own eggs. Cooking no daggone eggs, I'm tired.
No. I mean, in my previous marriage, we shared duties because we're critical thinkers. Like, it just makes sense to do it that way. And so even if he wasn't good with the finances, then I managed the finances. And if I wasn't good with mopping the floor, then he mopped the floor. And so, you know, the two people obviously should have their own minds and make it work for them. But since we're talking about the doctrine, it's basically designed for the woman to serve the man. And I can even go further. So if there's a domestic situation going on, and say there's a situation of some type of like verbal abuse, even physical abuse, because that happens because people are people, right? The woman is usually taught, sister, you got to be his peace. Sister, you got to be this for him. Sister, you got to be that for him. Okay. That's number one. And number two, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, he teaches that the woman is a degree less than a man.
Yeah. So I remember my wife, right? And I joke with her a lot about it. She was listening to a Wesley Muhammad presentation. And Wesley Muhammad was breaking down that the woman is a degree less than, and she's the second of law. The man is the first of law, and the woman is the second of law. So I be facetious with my wife sometimes. I say, you better stop playing with me. You know you just the second of law.
It's the Adam Rib story, literally.
But is that a common theme that woman? I mean, you can hear somebody say something like that, but to see it practiced, is that practice, or is that just, you know what I mean? Okay, this is what's said, but we ain't rocking with that.
Okay, so let me just say this. So in the mosque, I came in the Philadelphia mosque. Okay, so I came up under a certain type of sister captain. Okay, because in the mosque, you know, the laborers are all supposed to work together according to the Constitution, but the secretary actually has the higher rank. Just like if you think about the country, the national secretary and all that kind of stuff. But sometimes it gets convoluted because, number one, the secretary may not really know their position, and then the minister kind of does their own thing. But according to the Nation of Islam Constitution, the secretary is literally like number one. They really are like the top person in the mosque as far as like laboring is concerned. The sister captain, she actually is supposed to be quote unquote second. Why? Because according to our 7 units, if the woman is supposed to manage the household, then in that situation, the mosque is the household, right? So you can kind of look at it like that. And so she would be taking care of a lot of things that goes on in the mosque. I was fortunate to be up under a captain that understood that, the sister captain. And this is just my opinion. Okay, my opinion is that the sister captain and the minister didn't really get along.
Right.
Right? Because we're dealing with that dynamic. And so I just wanted to kind of give you a visual of how that can kind of look. It
Right.
can be played out in a lot of different ways. Now, I will say there is a unit called the Vanguard. You heard of that? The sisters with the
Yeah,
cap.
yeah. They be doing the steps.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So a certain age goes into Vanguard. Now, when I came in, it wasn't designed like that, but that's how it was. I heard back in Elijah Muhammad's time, where like 16 to like 35, you're in Vanguard or something. But when I came in, you had a choice. I chose ministry when I first came in. I wanted to be in ministry, but later on, when things kind of changed, then I ended up getting stuck with Vanguard. I never wanted to be in Vanguard. And that's just like the military facet for the women's side. So you would see the sisters securing, Mother Khadijah, rest in peace for her. Mother Tanetta, rest in peace. Mother Evelyn, rest in peace. You know what I mean? Like you would see the sisters around them. Sister Ava, rest in peace, right? And so that was like the military infrastructure for the sisters. I was in Vanguard. I drilled. I did all that. I trained a couple of sisters on security and things of that nature. But it's still not like an equal thing.
Right.
It's still not a working together thing. It's still like if we're out for a detail, the brothers still have say in everything that we do, depending on who the sister is in charge. There might be, a rift between them because she knows more than what he knows. And because he's the man, he's supposed to know everything. You see those dynamics all the time.
Right. Let me go on a tangent real quick, sis, if you will.
Sure.
Just bear with me. Somebody in here said something to the effect that man and woman is not equal and that woman came from man. Listen, now, if you're saying this and you're under a Muslim doctrine, in the Holy Quran and Mecca, it teaches that Allah created man and woman as a pair, and a pair is equal. That's what it says in the Holy Quran of Mecca, if that's what you believe. In the Bible, it said God created man, he, them. They were created together. So just because you get to the physical aspect and you saying that the woman came from the man, they're equal in creation. Do you know what I'm saying? They're equal in creation. As I do the piece of paper effect, if I take a piece of paper and I tear a piece of paper, one side could be even bigger than the other, but the components of the paper is still the same. The constitution of the paper is still the same. You know what I mean? Just because one is 150 pounds, 180 pounds, that doesn't make the constitution of what that thing is. It's still the same. Now, both have roles. You know what I'm saying? So even in the Moorish Science Temple of America, it talks about that the woman is the one that managed the household, and man is the protector. So while she's managing, he is the security of it. So each one has a role. You know what I'm saying? So as she's producing the things for the household, and in fact, in our Holy Quran, it talks about how the woman tells everybody what to do. Tells everybody what to do. It says that the woman, she wakes in the morning when she rises, and she point out the affairs for everyone in the household. You see what I'm saying? So at the end of the day, we just haven't learned how to work together because of this colonized mind. We just haven't learned how to work together. And while she's managing, the man is protecting. The woman is not the protector. I mean, why? So while he's managing or providing, you know what I'm saying? Her job is equally important, and it's equally straight across the board. You just got to know your job, and we just been messed up for so long. We just been messed up for so long that we think one job is greater than the other because you can lift weights and you can punch somebody in the face. You think that your intelligence supersedes the woman, when in fact we know that most movements have been ran by man, but really established by women. If you keep it a buck. But anyway, I'm off of that tangent right now. So, sis, when was the year you said that was it? Because now we're going to go up into how it changed. What year was this?
So I feel like it was after the Scientology thing. To that, I think Scientology, like Farrakhan said something. He did something with Scientology around 2010. So I think I was, yeah, maybe like 2013 ish, maybe. That was, yeah, that was the end of my time in the Nation of Islam, Farrakhan's Nation of Islam.
I hear you say, uh, hey, let me block this guy real quick. Let me block Aleem again. Make Aleem Allah make another account. You know what I'm saying? Cause he sound like an abuser. You a beta male. You let a woman run you. You sound like an abuser. He's an abuser. Get him out of here. He sound like an abuser. Let me get him out of here. You a beta male. You let a woman run you. You know what I mean? Yeah, let me get him out of here. When I hear you say Farrakhan's, you said Farrakhan's Nation of Islam. What do you mean when you say Farrakhan's Nation of Islam?
Well, I think that there is a distinction between the Nation of Islam for Elijah Muhammad being over the Nation of Islam as opposed to Farrakhan, because I mean there's so many different variables in each. So when I make that distinction, I mean it like to the letter. I mean, I can, like, I have bullets. Like when I started going into like further study, I was making a comparison because, like I said, I came into the nation with the idea that it was Elijah Muhammad, like the way Elijah Muhammad did his nation from when my mother was in it. So when I got there, it started looking different. And so when I went into further study, I do this thing where, if I want to make a decision, I kind of do this like T chart and I put like good and bad stuff, right? So in this situation, I was putting like my experience with Farrakhan and then what I know about the teachings from Elijah Muhammad. And I was making a comparison and stuff wasn't adding up to me. And I'm like, hold on. And when I read the book, Torchlight for America, and compared it to Our Savior Has Arrived, I got confused.
How about the fall of America?
The Fall of America, that's what it was. Yeah, I got confused. I'm like, hold on, wait a minute. And that's where I started going down the rabbit hole.
What do you, when you were a part of the NOI, were they doing the Scientology back then?
So no, not in the beginning. Absolutely not. I
Right.
mean,
before you left. Before you left.
Yes.
They was doing it before you left?
Yes.
Let me ask you this: how was it introduced? Because that would be kind of a shocker to me if I was taught, especially if you only listen to Elijah Muhammad and you listen to the early Farrakhan, where, man, that rhetoric was hardcore. You know what I mean? The white man and my brother Dr. Khalid Muhammad, they gave no breaks. You know what I'm saying? And then, you're introduced to a doctrine that's established by clearly a European, Ron Hubbard, which people will argue, say he got it from us, but it's represented by Ron Hubbard. It's a whole system represented by Ron Hubbard. And how was that introduced, though? Did it just drop in, or was it a slow grind?
Right. So from my experience, it was a drop. Now, mind you, I remember that Dianetics book. My father had it back in forever ago, right? So I seen the book. I even remember the commercial with a big bomb, Dianetics. Anybody remember that commercial? That actually was a book that was in my house growing up. We never touched it, not because it was like, oh, stay away from that. We just never picked it up. That was something my father was doing. So the assumption is they was always kind of dibbling and dabbling in Dianetics, because my father was in the Nation.
Right.
And so I'm assuming, okay, so this is something that y'all are bringing back. And so the way the way I got wind of it was through somebody that was talking about like the auditing and the Dianetics and stuff. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that book. My father had it. And then I actually wanted to experience it because I'm like, oh, what's this about? And I told you, I'm a researcher and, I go based off of experience. That's my truth. So I wanted to experience what they were talking about because it wasn't necessarily like something that was like pushed on. It was just something like, we got these books, go ahead and get your books, get your manuals, start reading it. But it wasn't like study groups around it or anything like that at the time. It was just something extra that people started picking up. And then we were hearing things like Chicago was getting audited and all this kind of stuff. And I just was curious. So I didn't get audited from someone in the nation because auditing means you got to tell people your business. It's literally a therapy session. Okay. The objective is to disconnect from the emotional of the emotions of the event, like understanding that the event happened and it occurred, but is disconnecting yourself like emotionally from the trauma. Right. I actually went down to the Church of Scientology in Philadelphia and got audited.
Goodness gracious.
From the people that actually been doing this.
Right.
I didn't go to like a new person. I went to someone that actually does auditing.
But when you have a doctrine that says that you were visited by God in the person, wouldn't that seem, I mean, not for you at the time, but in retrospect, wouldn't that seem a bit compromising when you're accepting that God bought you everything?
It's an absolute contradiction. Let's just say that. It's an absolute contradiction. And the reason why I'm saying that it's a contradiction, because just like you said, if God came in person and brought you these teachings, what else do you need?
Right.
What else would you need? You have everything you need in those teachings from years, decades, right? So I'm not really sure what the purpose of auditing was, because my experience in auditing, all it did was, number one, hypnotize me. I was hypnotized. Literally, I was hypnotized. And the reason how I know I was hypnotized, because I went and got audited late at night. They didn't know, the people in the building didn't know that I was back there being audited. And the security started ringing, like the sirens for the building. And like, it woke me up. I was in a trance. I was literally in a trance. And so the guy that was auditing me, he was asking me, are you okay? Oh my goodness, you wasn't supposed to come out of it like that. You hear the language? And he kept asking me, are you okay? I said, I'm fine. But it was a different feeling. It didn't feel right. I didn't like it. I didn't like it. Because I was under hypnosis.
You sound like Elijah Muhammad when he kissed the rock. He said, I kissed it, but I didn't like it.
I didn't like it.
That sounds like Elijah. I kissed the rock, but I didn't like it.
Now, I wasn't on those machines, because I think that's like later when you do the machine thing or whatever it is, like some machine they do. I don't know about that. But the way it was literally like a hypnosis session. And then once I experienced that, I was good. I don't want that.
Okay, so you go through that, and then what about when you start seeing? I don't know if you were, as you say, you study, so you had to see it. How do you feel about when the message began to change? You hear the minister would talk about the European Jew, and then he went from the European Jew to, next thing you know, it's a lot of pictures going around with these meetings, some of them private, some of them public, and some of them, who knows what was going on. Have you seen any of those pictures?
Nah. What pictures are you referring to?
All right, let me show you something. How about let me flip it up. How about the pictures like you see with Reverend, what is his name, Flaggart or something like that? Stuff like that.
Father Flaggart and Farrakhan.
Yeah. So
The kissing photo.
yeah, like when they say things like the white man, the devil, and then you see flagrant in there. What did you? How does that hit your psyche?
So by the time I started seeing that, I was no longer a part of the nation.
Thurman Smart. Got you good.
And
But how did but as a former member of the nation, I'm pretty sure you still have some love for the nation. How did that hit you?
I have love for the individual people that I connected with.
I'm talking about the doctrine, though. The doctrine. When I say the nation, I'm speaking of the doctrine. You ain't got the love for the doctrine no more?
I don't even know if it was ever like a love thing.
Okay, I got you.
I don't describe it like that.
I got you.
You know what I mean? So like I don't hold it like dear where like even though if I see the truth of it, I'm gonna like, oh no, that's not true. I'm not like that. If I see there's some discrepancies and it's proven, okay, that's what that is. Yeah. So I don't feel that for a doctrine. You know what I'm saying?
Right. See, because I'm just speaking up because of me. Now, people might think, hey man, I don't know what's up with Grand Sheik. I'm just saying when I look into what Prophet Noble Drew Ali taught, and I'm not talking about all of the garbage that's out there. I'm talking about strictly what he taught. I see it as sound. You know what I'm saying? Sure. It doesn't ask me to do anything crazy. You know what I'm saying? Right. Even when he's in the story of Jesus, it's a story of coming from your low vibration to your high vibration. Even if you don't believe in Jesus, it's just an example of how to go from your lower to your high vibration. You know what I'm saying? So I don't see anything in there that asks me to treat a woman less than, to break any type of law, to not saying that anything in the nation like that, but there's nothing in that could turn around and I don't have to believe in something that's far out that I can't establish. And so there's and in fact, a brother was on the brother that want to go back and forth with me. He asked, where is Prophet Noble Drew Ali's writings? Where is he writing? I want to study him. Where is his writings? And I'm trying to explain to him, and I'm being nice to him. This is Kevin Ali. I say, brother, Prophet Noble Drew Ali is similar to other prophets when they do what they do for humanity. It's not volumes and volumes and volumes of work. It's a message and they move on. I say so pretty much. Our prophet, Noble Drew Ali, says, study the Quran, talking about the Quran of the Moorish World of America, the questionnaire and the divine constitution and bylaws. It's not a whole volumes and volumes and volumes about it. No prophet does that. No prophet does that. And so he showed all the books of Elijah Muhammad. I said, well, you're not going to get that from the prophet Noble Drew Ali. You know what I'm saying? You're going to get a system, and you can find the system in the Moorish Guide, and you're going to get the empirical documents is the ones I just named. And that's normal for the historical prophets. They don't come with a bunch of stuff. The bunch of stuff come afterwards. You know what I mean? Like
that's the difference between a system to establish something like tangible, and an indoctrination. Because when you indoctrinate people, you have to keep giving them stuff. Read this, read that. You have to keep telling them stuff. You have to keep talking to them like forever. And it's like, why are you still talking when there's no action happening? You don't have. So that means that if I got to keep, just like with a child, if you got to keep saying the same thing to a child and keep trying to get them to do something, you're trying to indoctrinate them so they can behave a certain kind of way. But if you're just delivering something and say, this is this, now go and do what you're not trying to get them to behave a certain way because you already gave them the tools that they needed. But if you got to keep talking to people, you're trying to get them to behave a certain way.
Yeah, and that's what I try to explain to the brother Kevin Ali. I know he's mad with me right now. And what he's doing, though, he's really looking for something that he can use for ammunition. But it's not there. The only thing you're going to get is stuff that the prophet did not say. I mean, but if you lose what the prophet said, you're not going to get it because it's not volumes and volumes and volumes and volumes of edicts. It's just not there. You know what I'm saying? So back to my point, how did you feel even being a member of Farrakhan's, as you called it, Nation of Islam, and you seen the matter of fact, this is the one I was looking at, and you see when you see stuff like this, because I grew up hearing the minister would man, he would talk about the European Jew in such a way that, man, like it made me want to do research. So I put it up on the screen. I don't know if you got your other phone. Can you see it?
No, I don't have it up.
Oh, all right. So yes, you can't see it from there, but I got the flagrant picture up, and I got him with the European Jews, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing is that when I listened to him in the 80s, in the late 80s, I was young. In the 90s, I started to get a better comprehension because I joined the Moorish Science Temple of America in 1990. Mm-hmm. And I just remember we used to listen to them tapes. And man, he would tear into the European Jew and tear into that European. And then time would come where you would see him hugged up, and I was even taken aback. So that was the question, like, when you would begin to see that, even though you're gone from the nation, what kind of impression did that have? What did that say to you?
So when I began to see that, prior to seeing that, I've already studied certain things in the system and how things are designed. Okay, so I used to study the Black Panther Party and all the different socialist parties and all that kind of stuff. When I seen that, it was disappointment, because being part of the nation, you would never think that it would be a situation like you saying this, but then you doing that. Okay, and so we know what that's called.
Yeah, and one thing is, if you listen to the old, one thing I could say about Elijah Muhammad is, although he taught the white man is the devil rhetoric, he looked him in the face and said the same thing. Got plenty of videos out there where he looked him in the face. I watched the video of Farrakhan, and I think it was Mike Wallace, asked, am I the devil? And it seemed like Farrakhan just couldn't bring himself to say it.
He danced around it. I seen it. Yeah. I mean, let me just explain something. When I was in the nation, I studied Farrakhan's, all his lectures. Like, I could literally say a lecture and then give you the name of the lecture. That's how sharp I was with his stuff. Okay. And so I listened. So sometimes in this lecture, he would say this. Then the other lecture, he would say the opposite. That's concerning. Okay. Now, I don't know what's going on in his personal life, what would make him kind of waver on things and not be as committed from what we're used to seeing. But what I can say, as followers, members, pay attention to that. Okay. And it's one thing that I was reading in Theology of Time, because I go over Theology of Time. That's like one of my favorite books. And the one thing that Elijah Muhammad said in this book is that if the teacher who claims to know the truth objects to you asking him questions, then he's not the one. And so the one thing I noticed that being in the, he said that, right. So one thing I noticed in the nation, it was like Farrakhan was untouchable. Like you couldn't, just ask him a question, or you couldn't just, like, even if we were like at a believers meeting or something like that, you would think because it's like a more intimate, more personal situation, you could be able to have a conversation with him. He's untouchable. Like, I didn't understand that. I was really confused. Like, why aren't you getting to know the other, thousands of people or hundreds of people in your thing? This is what you decided that you wanted to do. and establish something. So wouldn't you want to get to know who is in it? And so the only time I got close to him, we didn't talk, but I was doing security for Mother Evelyn, RIP. She's one of the sisters that passed away. I don't know if you know we call her Mother Evelyn. I was doing security for her, and we had to cross Farrakhan's path. He didn't say anything to me. I was neck and neck with him because I was trying to stay on her so she could be seated. He walked towards me and just looked right past me. Didn't say Assalamu alaikum, nothing. That was disturbing to me because it was just like, hold on. We all in this together, right? I could at least got a greeting,
Right.
And so people would make excuses and say, oh, he didn't see you, blah, 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 whatever. The bottom line is, it shouldn't have been, in my eyes, it shouldn't have been a situation where he was untouchable. Okay. Yeah.
I wanted to ask, to your point, I've heard brothers say in the past few years that Farrakhan is the promised Messiah. I've heard, now I don't know, let me make sure that I say it right, that he is the Jesus of the hour, that he's the one. And in a lot of quiet circles in the nation, that's the word now. Have you ever heard of that?
Absolutely. He said it out his mouth. He always said it. I don't agree with it. I mean, look at the evidence. I mean, you don't have to go any further. Look at the evidence. What are the qualifications and what's the requirement? And does that match with his conversation? What's the answer?
My thing is this. My thing is that if Elijah Muhammad says that he is the Mahdi, in fact, no. Okay. If he says that Master Farrakhan Muhammad is the Mahdi,
there you go,
and he says that he is the Elijah, see, it kind of messes me up a little bit, but let me just say it. He says Master Farrakhan Muhammad is the Mahdi. Master Farrakhan Muhammad is God in the flesh, in the person. But then Elijah Muhammad goes and say that he is the Jesus. He is the Muhammad of 1400 years ago. Today, he's the real Muhammad. How can one come behind and then say, how do you logically say that you are in that same line if that line already been produced? And I'm speaking to the doctrine.
For sure. And so what I would say to that is, I've heard lectures and obviously read that that's what Elijah Muhammad would say. But it would be like a conversation of, I'm doing X, Y, and Z. So I am that, or I am this. He even said that he's Yaqub in reverse. Have you ever heard him? You ever heard that Elijah Muhammad say that? Right. He's even said that he's Yaqub in the reverse. And so it was, to me, it was like an example of a situation, and then said, I'm that because of X, Y, and Z. So for Farrakhan to come behind and say that, in my opinion, the works don't show it. Now, if your works show it,
but sis, that's I think when you say the works don't show it, I think you're gonna have to clarify that, because he has done an amazing job rebuilding his version of the Nation of Islam. He started from nothing. When he left War of Deen, he ain't have much, and he's built a little empire now, a little small mini empire. So when you say his works don't match, what works are you speaking of?
Okay, so when you make the statement that he started from nothing, we got to be for sure.
Uh-oh.
And the reason why I say we got to be for
Man,
sure.
this is why I don't like sis on here. Sis, you gonna get me in trouble. Come on, sis. But now go ahead.
Well,
I'm
I
messing with you.
mean, put it like this.
Now teach, sis. Talk to me, because this is an open conversation.
Do we really start from nothing? Like, if you talk to people that's like old people that was kind of around, some of them would say, yeah, we went to go sit down with some bankers. Yeah, we went to go sit down with some bigwigs during Wallace's time. And he said he was going to rebuild the nation because you sitting down with bankers and bigwigs. So the conversation is, according to what they're saying, it wasn't starting from scratch. It was already putting moves together to do the quote unquote rebuilding. So can we really say, now if that's true, I don't know if it's true.
No, it costs money. Listen, let me tell you something. We're building from scratch, and we don't have the money. We building the Moorish Science Temple of America from scratch, and we don't have the money to do all the things that's necessary to build it at a rapid pace right now. You know what I'm saying? So we just do the best we can with what we have. You know, but to your point, Farrakhan did instantly start to get on all the major networks, and I remember, I forget who said it, that the moment that you get access to all the major networks, you better pay attention. I forget who said it, but I think it was somebody from the Black Panthers maybe. But let me backtrack for a second, sis. I was suspecting this for a long time, but I don't have conclusive evidence, and I haven't had the time to research and find out. I always say that Elijah Muhammad never had a book until after he got released from prison. And I always ask myself, you know, he went to prison for the draft dodging.
Mm-hmm.
And then after prison, after all of these years, now these books begin to pop, 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 pop. So in my mind, I'm wrestling with two things. Is there a ghostwriter, or did he write them in prison? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This is what I'm thinking. I'm wrestling in my mind. So this is where I stop my research, because I haven't had time, because I'm doing too much over the years. I haven't seen great importance to try to uncover and give me a satisfied answer. If he wrote it, that's fine. If he didn't, that's also fine. So, but I haven't done the deeper research to really get to the deeper assessment of it. But you mentioned that he didn't write any of them books. Where did that come from?
So all the books, starting with Message to the Black Man, they were just a compilation of his speeches. That's it.
Okay.
They were all his speeches, literally. They were all his speeches.
There you go. There you go.
Even Theology of Time was his speeches, because he did a series on Theology of Time. They're all speeches.
I am not a scholar. I am not a researcher.
Elijah Muhammad looked like sitting down writing a book.
You're right. You're right.
That doesn't make
Sis,
sense.
you are 1,000% right. And somebody said those was articles compiled into a book throughout local newspaper, but I say articles and speeches. You are absolutely right. Because I remember listening to the speeches and then reading it.
I am not a scholar.
Sis, you got to forgive me.
I am not a scholar.
I am not a scholar. I am a believer. You 100% correct. And the reason why I know you 100% correct, because my best friend, Malik, he's a Sunni Muslim today, but he grew up, we were young, I was in the Moorish Science Temple of America, and he was in the Nation. And we listened to Elijah. Of course, you know, we don't have no tapes of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Wish we did. And a lot of Moors was pseudo. So we studied from straight Prophet Noble Drew Ali. but we studied together. But we listened to Elijah Muhammad. I'm talking about the cassette tapes. We listened to those and Dr. Khaled and Farrakhan non-stop back in the 90s. Early 90s, you know what I mean? Non-stop. And now you just say that. That's amazing how conversation can bring you to recalling. Because now that you say that, I ain't got to look no further. All you got to do is find the speech.
Well, here's the thing now. So because he didn't write them and they came from his speeches, then that means that
somebody
people
edited
can
them.
change. They can change. There you go.
Somebody can edit it. And in fact, you're right. You know why? You know why you're right about that? I have at least 3 copies of Message to the Black Man, and I can see a couple changes. I have one that's an old one that I lost and couldn't find, so I had to buy a new one. And my wife has one. You know what I'm saying? Before we even got together, she has one. So we got 3 in the house, and they're 3 different versions. Slight differences, a couple page difference and stuff like that. You know what I mean? But not
the same thing happened. The same thing happened with the lessons with me coming into the nation, because my sister that came in the early 90s, she had something a little different from what I got as far as the orientation. Now, one thing I can say, the Book of Femininity, the book I was referring to for the MGT and GCC class, that book was taken out of print, but pieces were just taken out and pieced together. So in newer books that Farrakhan may give out to the sisters or something, there's going to be some stuff from the Book of Femininity saying that it's him giving instructions to the sister when it actually came from the Book of Femininity. Okay. So it's a lot of, it's not like original stuff, it's stuff like got from here. So it depends on when you came in that what's more closer to the original than not.
So let's get to the question. Now let's get to the question. What do you think happened to the Nation of Islam, from the Nation of Islam that you joined and thought that you would adore, or maybe you did adore in the beginning? First, before we get to, when you joined the Nation of Islam, what did you expect? What was your expectations? This is your personal journey. What was your expectations when you joined the Nation of Islam?
So I expected to do a lot of community service. I expected to eventually have our own businesses as a unit and actually be employed, maybe be an owner. I just expected like a little mini nation, just like, the experience was for some of the believers back with Elijah Muhammad. I literally expected that.
Sis, whenever I talk to you, you always give me the impression that in the Moorish Science Temple of America that we call it's the polished coat effect. You know what I'm saying? The polished coat, where the outside is very shiny and beautiful, is polished. The coating is polished. It looks really, really good. But when you look inside the cup or
Hampton's Village, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's the impression that you give me. And let me say this, you're not the only one that gives that impression. I'm talking about, you have active brothers and sisters in NOI right at this hour that pretty much, I don't want to speak for people, but pretty much tolerates what they would say functional dysfunction, if you will. But when everybody shows up, it looks so good.
Doesn't it? It looks amazing.
It does.
Yeah, it does.
No, for real. When you look at Savior's Day,
amazing. Yeah.
It looks very, very, but it reminds me of a Grand Sheik that I was under. We was in a temple here in Baltimore, and with nobody really doing much, you know what I'm saying? And every year we have our convention in Chicago. But when it was time to go to Chicago, the big talk would come. Listen, we going to convention. Nobody talk while I'm talking. This is how we moving. This is how we present ourselves. And we're Baltimore. We're representing Baltimore. And we will go up there sharp. And then come right back to confusion.
That's it. Same. We would get instructions. Absolutely. We would get instructions going to Savior's Day, or if we're doing a detail out in another city, full instructions on how to behave, who not to talk to, what to say. If someone come up to you and say this, do this, there's this person in charge, direct them to this person in charge. Oh yeah, it's a whole thing. Like, for real, it's a whole thing.
During the time of Elijah Muhammad, it seems like a lot of brothers who joined the Nation of Islam, they came straight out of prison. Some of them were still hardened, and some of them would go on, and you have stories where some of them were selling drugs to help the nation. Some of them was taking money to do some deeds for the nation. You have stories like that. And you got older Sunni Muslim brothers that are coming out now talking about what they experienced when they had joined the Nation of Islam, and then they went along with War of Dean Muhammad. But in the Farrakhan era, it seems like he has brought in, like, the people that Elijah was bringing in. It seemed to kind of stop, like the downtrodden, the drug addict, the prostitute. It seems like now everyone seems to want to be an intellectual, or the ones that we see. Let me put it like that, because I know some that they.
I can explain that.
Come with it.
Because I was there. So around I guess like the late 90s, maybe. There was a wave of college students coming into the nation. So Farrakhan wanted us to go to the universities and fish in the college students, because he wanted more of the more educated, maybe.
Sis, hold up, sis. This makes sense with the Malik Zulu Shabazz thing, because Malik Zulu Shabazz kept bringing Farrakhan and Dr. Khaled to Howard University, and from there he began to Malik Zulu Shabazz. He was instrumental with getting them in other colleges, because Malik Zulu Shabazz was I think he was of the student union, and he was a promoter at Howard University. So yeah, but go ahead, sis. Yeah, sis. Sis, you might got to come in on here as a correspondence. Come on now, go ahead, sis.
Well, it was like changing kind of like the look a little bit. So instead of it being like, even though there was still people that did time and all that kind of stuff, it was more like he wanted like more like the educated to come in. And, I call them the boule, but that's just me. I'm on the Steve Coakley thing.
Yeah.
And so we started getting a lot of believers that were like, graduates of college, and, a lot of military people, a lot of people coming from the military, a whole bunch. Like, you're like, really? He was in the military? And so it just started looking a little different, right? But what it was looking like, remember, if you do study on the financial part of the nation around that time, this is around the time where I think Farrakhan was got sick or something like that. There's articles about the finances of the nation. Okay, the finances were hurting around that late 90s time. And so when you get intellectuals, people that graduate, they got 6-figure jobs and stuff like that, you get larger charities, you get larger everything, because they're giving money. And so, and I'm just being honest, it's a business. It's run like a business. It's established like a business. It's no different than a mega church is. And so financially, it does make sense, because now you have people that are indoctrinated. And these are the boule. The boule are the Black pride people, but they still want a seat at the white man table, So you got these kind of people, and they're willing to give. And by this time, Farrakhan is already established. You know what I'm saying? And so he is like well respected. He's connected with celebrities. He's connected with all these people with deep pockets. Okay. And so it helped. And I'm not knocking them for it. and I'm not necessarily saying that that's the reason why, but just from observing it, I'm seeing like, oh, that makes sense, because if you're in financial ruin, for the most part, there's plenty of articles that say this. This is not something that I'm making up. Then it just makes sense to connect with, people that got money because that's gonna help. I mean, that's just
Man, sis, yeah, you gotta come back on my show next week for the women in the Nation of Islam, and I would love for anybody else to come on. And the whole thing is that one thing I'm not going to do, and I never do on my show, I'm not going to make projections. I'm only going to read what the doctrine say. I'm only going to look at what the doctrine say and examine it. Do you know what I'm saying? Like most people that do these type of presentations, they start just being talking heads and say, yeah, the women look like they soft. Yeah, the women look like they subservient. Yeah, the women look like they military. Yeah, I'm not saying any of that. I want to look at the doctrine, and I want you to help us navigate to understand the role of the woman in the Nation of Islam. And in fact, any sisters in the Moorish Temple of America, I invite you to come here and have a show about the Moorish Temple of America. I never want to be one-sided. You know what I mean? Never, ever, ever. But we right now talking about the NOI, and it just seems to me when I heard this right here, let me share this with you, sis. If I can find it real quick. I'm going to try to turn it up. Let me see if I can find it.
Is your chat quiet? They seem kind of quiet. So
no, they there. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Let me see if I can. Let me see if I can find it. Hold up. No, that's right. We on two different screens. Hold up.
Yeah, but I'm trying to pull it up on my phone.
All right, let me pull it up right here.
Am I going to be able to hear it though?
Yeah, you should be able to hear it. Let me see something. It says, I can repeat it back to you because you can hear me right here, but okay. Let me see something real quick. Yeah, this is a Farrakhan. I thought I saved it, but I didn't. But I'm gonna just tap it real quick and let it play through the system. 1 second. Where is it? There it is. All right.
I state of women, their actions, and the creation of them, and regard to the knowledge of the man what he had in mind. I said, brother, I'm with the Holy Quran. The Holy Quran teaches us that she is to be respected as we. The only thing that's different, we are a little greater in the power of our creation. We have more powerful brains than she.
He says that men has more powerful brain. Oh, you can hear it?
Mm-hmm. I got it on my phone.
All right, let me let it play.
Because we was made to rule.
So he makes the statement that that men has more powerful brains than women because we were made to rule. Now I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that at all. And I'm not serving up to you, my wife, or any women in the chat. I just don't agree with that. I believe that we come from the same creator, and the same creator does not reduces one over the other. I just think that we've been so misled, misguided, and especially from this European, that we take our roles, one role is more superior to the other, when it takes both roles for us to exist and thrive. It is not one role that's greater than the other. The protector is not greater than the nurturer. You know what I'm saying? So, but when he says that the brain is bigger. Like, we are messed up. So of course, you know, the way our women respond to things and the way our men respond to things, sometimes we will take the thing over the top and say, yeah, well, the man is this and the woman is too much this and that. But that's because we're messed up. I'm of the thought that we came from the same creator. So that same creator give equal balance to the both and their counterparts, and they balance one another. You know what I'm saying? So we don't do the same thing. We don't have the same strengths and the same weaknesses. But what the strengths for one be the weakness for the other, but they balance each other. That's the way I see things. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And I don't believe that even me, again, I just told you, sometimes I got to be like, hold up, man, I'm thinking like this European. You know what I mean? I can feel myself like saying that I'm in control. And so, like, when in reality, I know it takes me and my wife to make this thing work. I mean, it is what it is. And yeah. So I have to draw myself back, check myself, and then restart. But when you hear Elijah Muhammad says that you have the weaker brain,
mm-hmm.
What is that?
It's unfortunate. That's what it is. It's unfortunate.
That's an insult, though. Like, that's not, yeah. It's like when someone says, oh, Elijah Muhammad, he liked Prophet Noble Drew Ali. He just said he was a smeller of Islam and he didn't know enough of Islam. And we have a complete system of how to march up out of this condition. A complete system. Not only a doctrine, but an actual system. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, a real system. I mean, with positions and officers, yeah. a true system that most Moors don't understand. Moors think they can call themselves Moors and just put on affairs and just start talking crazy. But Prophet Noble Drew Ali left a complete system. And he said that he didn't know enough. Which, to me, that was an insult. Like, what you mean he didn't know enough? He actually said, I bought you everything you need. So right. I'm like, wow. But when I hear the women got a smaller brain, there's nothing scientific about that.
Nothing scientific about it. For sure. Nothing scientific about it.
Somebody said in the chat, women minds aren't weaker in general. Of course they are. Quran, Bible says the same.
Now you understand why we're in this condition that we're in. I mean, I could go so far into this subject. And it's so unfortunate with this patriarchy.
Now we're gonna go into it on the next show.
Yeah, we need to, because it's really sad. It's really sad.
And let me say this. I understand from this perspective that anybody that comes to our people, they may even give the impression that they're coming from a patriarch perspective. But if you pull back the layers, you usually can find like, okay, this is just to weave it in so we can get back on track. That's what I see in the Prophet Noble Drew Ali's teachings. You know, when we use terms like I give you an example. This is an example. In our teachings, right? It says that it uses he a lot. He, Allah, and use he as the masculine. He. But in the same teachings, it teaches that we will not, and I'm going to use my words, but the resurrection, if you will. We will not come out of this until the holy breath come on the scene. And holy breath is just the full truth opening up. And we refer to the holy breath as she. Mm-hmm. So in parts of our Quran, we're looking at he. And then in other parts, in the most intricate parts of the awakening, it's referenced she. So I teach in the temple all the time that We need to read closely to understand the masculine and the feminine and the two that works together in order to make the Allah that we're talking about. You see what I'm saying? Because I mean, I could go on for days, but I can see it in the prophet's teachings. I can see it clearly in the prophet's teachings that we're using terms like he. But when you pull back the layers, you see the most important part becomes the she. It says she must come, but it's not a she as in genitalia.
It's not a gender issue.
Yeah. It's a feminine
energetic expression.
Yes.
It's an expression, and we are expressions of that same energy. The problem is when you have transhumans, people that aren't human, that change the game and condition and indoctrinate people. And yes, Elijah Muhammad was conditioned into a patriarchal mind. When he first started in the 30s, 40s, all the way to the 50s, even the 60s for that matter, he was still learning. He didn't know oh, this is it. You know,
but he's the messenger. But he's the messenger though.
He could be that. That's fine. It doesn't say you know all, be all, because can't one man or woman be all for everybody? I don't care what you call you.
But when he says that he is the messenger of Allah, and he always say this is what Allah in the persons of Master Farrakhan Muhammad taught me. He always referenced that.
Yeah.
And then he goes on to say that he's Elijah of the Bible. He raised his status to that of a prophet when he makes them statements. So how can one who follows that not believe that he is a part of the end all be all and that he can be adjusted?
Because again, number one, he's a man, a person, has a mother. Okay, mother gave birth, so did Master Farrakhan Muhammad, supposedly, right? That whole thing. But the point about Elijah Muhammad is Elijah Muhammad was raised in Christianity, right? He knew nothing of what Master Farrakhan Muhammad called Islam or whatever. He was raised in it. So when you are raised in a certain religion or ideology, that is your lens that you're looking from, right? So he never taught out of the Quran. He may have referenced some things, but everything was out of the Bible. Why? Because that's his familiarity. That is his fabric. And so everything that was given was from that lens.
And sis, you right on with that, because I said that the other night. I said people need to understand why the Bible is so important in the Nation of Islam, because his father was a preacher. Of course, he came up under those teachings hardcore.
For sure. And even you would read, I was reading some of the FBI files where it was something about when he was born, he was looked at as of amazing, like his eyes were so dark or something. But even when his mother was carrying him, I'm just kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I'm just kind of inferring, right, that she was looking at it more so that he was like a spiritual child, even in her womb, right? And so when you go into the pregnancy of a woman, her mind and that energy goes into the child. You understand? And so he could have just been born thinking that he was supposed to be this. And so when things kind of happen, it's like, oh,
yeah, but when you read the doctrine of W.D. Fard, he actually supposedly didn't choose Elijah Muhammad. He actually chose his brother Khalid.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So to your point, if he's growing up feeling like I'm supposed to be the one, you know what I mean? According to the research and the reports, is that he cutthroat his brother Khalid in order to be seen as the one that's supposed to take it to the next level.
And on top
According
of
to,
that,
and these are letters that can be verified as authentic.
you have to look at other variables as well. He was financially strapped. Okay. I mean, if we're going to talk about it and be like honest, like religion is a business and it could be a hustle too.
That's right.
Okay. If we want to be really honest about it.
Yeah.
And so there were benefits. There was a lot of benefits. All the followers were Christians. They were willing to give their last. And that's just what that is. It's not taking nothing away from what ended up happening, but we got to look at all the variables in it. We can't just say he was divinely guided. Like, where does that leave you?
Yeah, and my thing was, one of the things that I have this conversation about, and I think it's a beautiful conversation, the whole thing that's supposed to redeem people is a system, not a person.
For sure.
It's a divine system, a divine structure. And if it's not a divine system, a divine structure, then heck, we can look at the United States. What saves the United States is the structure.
For sure.
Whether you like it or not, it's the structure. It's the structure. And so when you look at, and that brings me to this point when I was talking about Elijah Muhammad, that he held the wealth of the Nation of Islam and the system didn't have nothing. So everyone that worked, that was called the laborers, they were laboring for Elijah Muhammad.
Yeah.
They wasn't laboring for a system that you pass down a system. The person pass on.
Yeah. That's just what that is. The evidence is there. That's what it is. It's nobody being attacking. It's no one doing any of that, because at the end of the day, you can be a person that called yourself the messenger of this or the messenger of that and still have financial problems and still have addictions and still participate in certain things. That doesn't take nothing away from the message that you feel like you carrying, or it doesn't take away from nothing how you help people with their lives. It doesn't take away from that. And so people really think, and again, another Christian indoctrinated thinking, that if he calls himself messenger of Allah, he must be perfect. He can't do no wrong.
Right.
No, he is a man.
That's why people get mad at me. That's why people get mad at me, because they think that I cannot question what he wrote. No, I'm not disrespecting him.
He wants you to.
I'm questioning what he wrote. I never cussed him out. I never said anything. We question reports. We question what was written and things of that nature. All right, before we go, what do you think, as I asked before, what do you think happened to the Nation of Islam? And you said money. You think it became about money?
No, that's just one piece of it. I think a large part of it had to do with financial survival. It was a lot of personal issues that was going on with individuals that had, positions of power. And at the end of the day, if you grew up poor and not having, and you found a way that you can have but still do some good, perfect.
Do you think? I was reading a letter in one of the shows. I mean, a court
document. Mm-hmm.
Court document, and one of the shows about the 22 children, and people still deny that is true, even though they had to divvy up the money to the 22 children.
For sure.
Is that anything that people ever discuss in private? Like, does it matter? Does it even matter? And I'm not saying that to disqualify.
Right.
Because my next statement is probably people ain't gonna believe I'm a statement. My next statement I'm gonna make after this. But the point that I'm making is this. In the Moorish Simple of America, right? You could have members that have been around for 20 years, 30 years, sometimes elders will reach out to me 40 years and they say, what do you think about this article where Prophet Noble Drew Ali in the newspaper, it says he married a 12-year-old. And they want to know, is this real? And if it's not real, I need you to tell me what it is. Like, we're not scared to approach these things, right? And basically, I tell them straight up, no, this never happened. This is how they try to set the Prophet Noble Drew Ali up. And then I start showing the receipts, how they try to use this little girl, her father tried to use this little girl to get the Prophet knocked up for molestation so they could take over the movement, take over the money. And I start showing receipts and I show that the girl recanted and and they and let's move on. So I'm not scared. But in the Moorish Science Temple of America, I get calls all the time from different bodies of Moorish Science Temple of America. Like, what do I think about this? What do I think about that? Some of the most controversial stuff that you could see in the newspaper, that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali has 2 wives and all these stuff, you know what I'm saying? And I address it and I be like, man, let me sing you something. Sis, let me sing you something. No, that ain't true. That ain't true. They made this stuff up. They trying to overthrow Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Let me show you. But the moment that you ask something about the Nation of Islam as it relates to something that's controversial, that's in the public, they lose their mind.
I mean, it's like, you know what a fanatic is? A fan is short for a fanatic.
Right.
Okay. These are not, for the most part, when you get that type of person or people that the evidence is clear and they still don't want to deal with it, that is a trauma. Okay. In my opinion, because the people worship Elijah Muhammad, like they literally worship him. Even to this day, there's people that worship him, right? That type of domestic indiscretion, that's a pain point and a trauma for a lot of people because it happens to them personally as well.
Right.
Okay. And so for a man that was of Elijah Muhammad's caliber to have these indiscretion and it be like it's actual fact. Now that's actual fact. That man had 22 babies for sure. Okay. We can go ahead and wives and all that. Farrakhan tried to clean it up and all that kind of stuff. At the end of the day, it really demonstrates where the people were emotionally. It really demonstrates where they were in this teaching. They were children in the mind. They could not handle a man having children with other women. It happens all the time. It's been happening all the time.
But not with in this era of time where people reverence someone to be their messenger from Allah. I don't think they equate that or be able to digest that as easily, maybe.
Well, because they worshipped him and they thought he
Right.
was perfect and that he could do no quote unquote wrong. That was the issue. So anytime that it takes that much of effect, leaving people with like post-traumatic stress, like these people are like, they are like, no. Anytime something happens like that, that's a trauma. That has nothing to do with the person. That has everything to do with the people. You
Right.
understand what I'm saying? So his domestic life should not have affected the people the way it did if they were focused on the doctrine, if you
Right.
understand what I'm saying. And yes, it is a contradiction from what he was teaching. And that was another part of the problem. If you have a restrictive law that says no adultery and no fornication, then absolutely. Oh my goodness. How could you? Of course, they're traumatized.
But my whole thing is that if you know that this stuff is out in the public, why are you waiting to get mad? Why aren't you trying to find a way to resolve it so you can move on and not resolve it and push it under the rug. But if someone asks, you have a response. You know what I'm saying? Farrakhan came up with a response, like you said, these was his wives, and you can have many wives. Somebody in the chat just said the Quran said you can have wives. You know what I mean? So they're preparing themselves for a response. Now, do we accept those responses? Absolutely not. We don't accept those responses. However, but the people that are getting mad, I'm wondering why haven't they taken the time to come up with a logical, rational explanation, and that's something that's not far-fetched. Now, I don't know how they're going to do it.
Yeah, there is no.
But the only thing that, I mean, just try or something. But what they do is they get mad and they cuss me out. And I'm saying that looks even worse. That looks even worse than an illogical rationalization to explain it away.
Yeah.
At least you're trying to sound intellectual or something like that, but you just cuss me right out.
Yeah, because I actually have a more logical, more spiritual reasoning behind it. Now, you don't have to accept it.
Right.
But I'm not going to jump down your throat and don't attack, and I'm not going to do that. The evidence is there. We're clear. 22 babies. We're clear. You can't erase it. It's there. But I do have a spiritual explanation for it, you know? And so, you know, that's neither here nor there. But my point is, we're dealing with people that are not really like, their emotions are not regulated. And so because they're worshiping a man or worshiping a person, they equate worship, or they equate the person they're worshiping with perfection. And there is no such thing, right? I mean, we could say that for a whole lot of situations. But if they look at a person that this person changed my life and oh my God, and then we find out that, you know, he's, you know, impregnating, they say underage. I don't necessarily think they were underage, but they daggone sure was at least 30 years or 40 years younger than him. But I don't think they were like 16 and 14. But I don't know. All I'm saying is, either way, it's a pain point and it's a trauma. And the nation has been suffering from that trauma since it happened. And it's very, very sad. And it's very unfortunate, because that's how you know that family is the fabric. Because if family wasn't the fabric of building a nation, then why are people so affected on something that says something other than family? That's all I'm saying.
Sis, did you have any notes, anything you wanted to share that we didn't cover? Because you're coming back next week. Yes, indeed. We're going to talk about sisters in the nation next week. Anything you wanted to share, sis? Time flew. And the conversation just flowed. Anything you want to share?
Yeah, I think everything has to do with the family structure going into the treatment of the woman. So I'm going to actually save those notes, because I was actually prepared to have that conversation today on what changed. And that's a big part that has like drastically changed.
So we got to do this next week. We got. And if you know any sisters that want to join the conversation, invite them on. I don't know if they mad at you or not, but you can invite them on, because
they won't, Taharka. They won't. They won't. They won't.
Why is it seems to be everyone is so intimidated to tell their story?
Because it opens up wounds, and it might affect them differently, especially if they're still part of the nation. You understand? Like, there's this thing where you have to get instructions to do anything outside the nation, especially coming on a podcast. Like, all wrong. And they won't. I'm just telling you. Now, some sisters that used to be in the nation, they might come, because now they don't feel like, you know, they have to answer to somebody. You know, I would have did it even if I was still in the nation, because I don't answer to them. You know what I'm saying? But that's just me. But all I'm saying is, I would love to have some active sisters in the nation to come and defend it. I would love to hear that.
Do you think sisters in the nation feel like they're subservient and taught to be subservient, even if they're not, but feel like it? You know what I mean? Because you got some, our spirit. I'm gonna go ahead and go through this for him, but
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, women have special bonds with each other, And depending on how indoctrinated, because there's levels to the indoctrination, right? There is a fear. I'm going to definitely say that. I don't really know why it's a fear, but there is a fear, because it's like in fear of being called a hypocrite. Like, I've been called a hypocrite like forever. I don't care. You know what I'm
Right.
saying? But that's not even what the definition of a hypocrite is anyways. But that's just the culture. You know, if someone appears to be speaking against or even telling their truth, you're still called a hypocrite.
Yeah, you know, and what they call men, they say you're an agent. A brother called me.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I've been called an agent too.
Yeah, a brother called me that today. I said, man, come on, man. You know that's outdated. You know that ain't going to intimidate somebody from not doing research and doing a podcast. You got to come up with something new. The agent thing is outdated. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm the type of person where as though there's no way that you can confuse me with these agents. It is impossible. It's impossible. I mean, so you got to come up with something new. You know what I'm saying? Something.
They don't really know what that actually is, because if they did, they would have already identified that. But one thing I do want to say is what happened to the nation, just to go back to that question. It was one thing I was listening to Dr. Alim talk about. And Dr. Alim said, like, during the holiday seasons back, during Elijah Muhammad time, they would work through the holidays. And working through the holidays keeps them focused on, the mission, or keeps them focused on the doctrine, right? But under Farrakhan, he encourages the believers to go fellowship around their non-Muslim families during the holidays. And what that does, that takes people away from observing their own, which is December, Ramadan, of what was given to the Nation of Islam under Elijah Muhammad. So now the fasting is during, the time of the Muslim world. And so what that does, it eliminates the exclusivity of the nation, because the nation was supposed to be like a nation within a nation, right? And so when the believers are partaking in events and things that other people do, it's not exclusive anymore.
Right.
And so it loses the exclusivity. And now it's like, oh, y'all just like everybody else. The only thing is y'all wear ties and the sisters wear whatever. And even the sisters wear, the hijab and stuff now. You know what I'm saying? And so that's a great topic, because Elijah Muhammad was trying to separate it from the Orthodox world, Orthodox Muslim. He talked against them all the time, although there were certain practices that was similar, but he talked about being more exclusive to be identified as something different. Under Farrakhan, you can't really tell anymore. But we also know that Farrakhan's last post was Abdul Farrakhan, whatever his name was, under Wallace. So his last post was under Sunni Islam. It wasn't the national representative of the Elijah Muhammad. It was, everybody always skipped that in between posts.
3 years.
His last post was under Sunni Islam. And so it makes sense. It makes
3
sense
years.
that you would incorporate that. Absolutely. For sure.
This was a great show, sis. I really appreciate you. Let me know when you're available next week. And we're going to start promoting this, family. If you enjoy this show, I hope that you take time to throw the thumbs up, to share this. I want to, and let me tell you this. I would love to invite members, active members of the Nation of Islam, to come on the show. Please don't come and cuss me out. I just want to hear your opinion. I just want to hear where you think I'm wrong. I want to hear where you say where you might think I lied. I don't want to hear the rhetoric, though. Please, no rhetoric. And what I mean by rhetoric, like, you just not a believer, you just don't believe. No, let's get into the scientific method and see, does it makes sense? That's all. You know what I mean? And we don't have to agree at the end. But nevertheless, we're going to have this conversation. But take us out, sis. What else you guys say in closing?
Nothing. I just look forward to us talking about the women in Islam. That's been a topic that I've always wanted to talk about. I just love the fact that the women actually it's being known that women really do have a real position in a patriarchy. So It's not feminism. It's absolutely our nature and what we were here to do. So I'm definitely looking forward to next week.
So you just tell me the day and it's on, all right?
Absolutely.
All right. Peace, sis. I appreciate you.
All right.
So there we go, family. What y'all think about the show, family? Family, what y'all think about the show? I know a lot of people probably don't like how I do my thing, but what y'all think about the show? Y'all think that was a pretty decent interview? How y'all like that? Give me some feedback. Now, I didn't ask you to agree. I didn't ask you to agree. I didn't ask you to, pander. I'm asking you, what do you think about the show? I think it was a pretty decent interview. I really like it. Every time sis come on, she always remind me of old information. And so big up to my sis, Jamillah Amir Muhammad. She always remind me of old information. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go look up some of the old interviews that me and her did. And I'll probably repost them on a day that I'm not going live. Because tonight she really reminded me, especially he didn't write no books. She really reminded me of some stuff, and I'm very grateful for that. She saved me a long nights of digging and looking to see what happened to these books. Well, how did they come about? So I'm good now. So peace and love, family. I wanted to go look for the books, but
I am not a scholar. I am not a researcher. I am a believer.
I'm a believer.
As the Holy Quran teaches.
I'm a believer. They should have used that in front of the Shrek song. I am a believer. Thank you for joining me, family. We will see you tomorrow with another exciting